The Bones and Bobbins podcast is now on Patreon. Would you like access to bonus episodes, digital extras, exclusive merch, and more? Join us in the Curiosity Shop at patreon.com/Bones and Bobbins.
Your generous support helps make the show happen and will also earn you our very eternal gratitude and entry into our private Patreon-only Facebook group, which is where all the fun stuff happens.
Totally. Yeah. I love our Facebook group. No
Me
drama,
too.
Just creepy fun people being like, hey, I like you. I like this. It's great.
Yes. It's such a nice change from some of the other less delightful groups that I have been in, shall we say.
I agree.
In a dusty old shop on a forgotten old street, you'll find two witches with books 3 boxes deep. Next to rusty old needles and faded red thread, you'll come in for yarn, but leave with pigments instead. Whether poisons or patterns, we're always discreet, where creepy and crafty and morbidity meet. Welcome to the Bones and Bobbins podcast. Hello, morbid makers. We are your slightly creepy,
Mildly disconcerting,
somewhat sinister,
delightfully discomposed,
opaquely odd,
merrily morbid.
marvelously misanthropic hosts.
And this is Bones and Bobbins, Season 2, Episode 5. It's cursed! Don't touch it!
I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and the Very Serious Crafts podcast.
And I'm Natalie from Uberdark Designs, an official true crime creative.
Yay! Oh, so I got my 23andMe genealogy results back this week.
Super exciting. Was it surprising? Not surprising?
Oh God, I'm so white. 100% European. 2/3 British, 1/3 German. Actually, slightly more. It's closer to half and half. But
nice.
Yeah. So, yep. That is.
When we found out we were significantly more Irish than anticipated. But also we do have traces of Asian and African in us. So
cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Don't. Oh man. My family was boring.
I think my dad is like 42% Irish. Which was way higher than anticipated. We are also very German. But yeah, I have a love-fear thing with the DNA companies because I love genetics. Was my jam. I love the Race for the Double Helix with Jeff Goldblum in it. Like I went to state in high school on genetics. Like I fucking love me some DNA. I love that it's being used to solve crimes. We're hoping that it will help with my aunt's murder.
Yes.
But at the same time,
at some point we should talk about.
We probably should.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's also one of those things where, like, you know, with great power comes great fucking responsibility, and I don't trust a lot of people. I trust a lot of scientists, but this is a business.
I don't trust a lot of companies.
Right, right.
But I don't know. The reason that I did it was because I wanted to make sure that the witchcraft I was practicing was mine to practice.
That's
and
amazing.
So I wanted to confirm what I basically already knew about my background to make sure that I was headed in the right direction. And I mean, I would have been cool if there had been any random thing pop up, but well, the UK broadly and Germany broadly, we are.
Nice.
Yep. There's at least some Scotland in there.
All of the UK, Scotland's one of my favorite accents. I do love a Scottish accent. Particularly when it comes out of David Tennant's face. That's extra wonderful.
Yes, please.
Serious.
That is the exact accent that I was thinking of.
Yep. There is.
We'll take it.
Yeah. Twice.
At least.
Exactly. There is a sound on TikTok where somebody said, I think it's to the gist of, so did you take one of those DNA tests and accidentally reveal a family secret? And oh my gosh, some of these people are like, the stories are phenomenal. And also very sad. Like I genuinely feel for these people, but
like, be honest about your family history, people.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I was talking to my dad about it, like the week before it came in, and my dad spent most of his career as a police officer in a crime lab.
Yeah.
And so he, like, I don't know, I was expecting him to be a little bit more touchy about it, but his response was basically a gigantic shrug, and I joked about things coming out of the familial or skeletons being found in the familial closet, and he was just like, gigantic shrug, and like, well, human beings are human beings, and they, generally speaking, do the best they can with what they're dealt.
Nice.
Like, all right, Dad.
There you go.
So yeah, how was your week?
It was pretty good. I've got that thing where I'm like, every time I feel like I've got a firm grasp on stuff, like, life is like, that's really cute, pats me on the head and then pushes me back like 10 paces. So, it's been, I think, I don't want to necessarily say pandemic fatigue, but just life in general is feeling kind of heavy lately.
Yeah. You've had a lot going on.
Yeah, which I'm used to. Like, I would say most of my life is spent in survival mode. I mean, single mom with
that's terrifying.
2 teens. It is terrifying.
Well, actually, though, fair enough. Single mom.
But, it's one of those things. So, and I think that every once in a while it just kind of catches up, and it's like, but now every once in a while, like, so it'll pile up, and then I reach what I call my fuck it nirvana, where it becomes so fucking overwhelmed that I reach this level where somebody could hit me in the head and I'd be like, yeah, that's about right. Like, I am all out of, my fuck tanks is barren. I am all out of them, and I'm just like, nah, that's all right.
Yeah, I have sort of skated by pandemic fatigue, at least for this week, because I got my first shot of the vaccine at the end of last week.
My parents got their first one. I was so excited.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Only one of my set of 4 parents has gotten a shot, and so I think I'm going to have to step in and get on the internet.
Be like, hi, you need to get this. This is where you go, and this is what time. Yeah. My parents are pretty excited about it. I know you posted the other day about the joy of the little mini parties when people get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that is totally true. Like, I get so excited. I get so excited when somebody that I care about, gets the first round of vaccine. That followed by, did you get the Dolly one? Like, everybody's like,
I did, in fact.
My parents did too. They got the Dolly Parton one. My mom's like, we got a shot of country in our arm.
Wow.
So yeah, it's exciting. It's also interesting because for the first time
someone's watching Schitt's Creek. I just heard the intro.
Nice.
Must be my upstairs neighbors. Sorry.
That's okay. That's one of my absolute comfort shows.
Yes.
But it's interesting because so I actually did billing today, which is on time for me, but in my head it was like, wait, it's March. Where did February fucking go? And then all of a sudden, somebody mentioned something about politics. I'm like, shit, I have not even been really paying attention as much. I think it just kind of checked out when things were kind of safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We've been on high alert for a really long time. We
have. But then I feel bad. And then I got in a fight with somebody on Facebook. But it was over the Oscar nominations and wins, and I was like, okay. So it was one of those arguments over the fact that it should not have been 35 years in between, black women winning for Best Actress. And then somebody had the fucking audacity to be like, Frances Dormant should have won. And I was like, did you even watch The United States versus Billie Holiday? Like, did you even watch it? Because if you didn't, I don't want to hear a peep about it. Frances Dormant is a treasure, and I adore her, but she did not deserve the win. And therefore, she did not get it.
I don't know anything about any of this.
It's fine. It's my little rant. It was my little rant. I don't
watch... Is Golden Globes TV or movies?
I think it's all movies. I don't ever watch the award shows because they just piss me off anyway, and it's like whatever.
I only watch if I have to go to one.
Right.
If Jeremy gets nominated. But
I know this is the one that was hosted by Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, which is
on opposite ends of the country.
Yeah.
Although I do know that Jodie Foster and her wife were in their pajamas on their couch with their dog,
which I love. That I love. And Jodie Foster's amazing too.
Find that out. So I'm not completely living under a rock. I just don't like movies.
It's fair enough.
Yep. Anyway.
So yeah, that's my week. You know what else I like? You know what else is good and wonderful?
What?
Our Curiosity Shop members.
Oh, yeah.
And
always.
I would like to take a quick break to thank all of our fantastic Curiosity Shop members over on Patreon and give a totally normal and not at all creepy thank you to Charlotte for upping her pledge.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte. You are darling and we love you.
It's true. And we also think you might have an accent.
Yes. One of our favorites.
We think you might.
I think it's possible.
All right. Was that weird? The autism and
I don't know that I am the best judge of weird because...
All right. That's fair. Never mind. We're not even going to try to answer that question. It's just that you should know, Charlotte, that you're the best.
Yes.
And we would totally go explore hidden old graveyards in the woods on several continents, perhaps, with you.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah. So, want to talk about some cursed shit?
Always.
I thought so.
Yes. I'm excited to hear
which one of us wants to go first?
I want to hear yours. I'm very excited about yours. You have a
good
one.
Then I'll go first. I like it. All right. So, I am going to be talking about a ring that goes by at least 3 names that may or may not be the real one ring to rule them all that inspired Tolkien.
Yes.
Yes. So, this is the story of a Roman ring, a divine curse, and potentially hobbits.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, this story takes place at a couple of different archaeological sites and also a museum. Although it wasn't a museum at the time, I guess. And also at Oxford. So
Okay.
we bounce around a little bit, but only because academia does not stay put.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start with an overview of this ring, which is from an Iron Age Roman town, Caleva Atrebatum.
That sounds like a spell.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I've heard it generally referred to as Caleva.
Okay.
So we can use that as shorthand. So this ring is known by many names. It's known as, including the Ring of Senicianus, the Vine Ring, and the Ring of Silvianus. And it is called those things interchangeably, sometimes not referring to the other names in various places. The actual location where this ring is held at the actual museum where it is in the collection refers to it as the Ring of Senicianus.
Okay.
For the record. All right. So this ring was an extremely rare piece of gold that was found on a site with otherwise very few traces of gold in its artifacts. And it was discovered in a freshly plowed field near the ruins of, like I said, the Roman city of Caleva in Silchester in Hampshire in England. And it was found in that freshly plowed field by the farmer who was plowing it in 1785. And about 100 years later, it would come into the possession of the Shute family, whose country house is now the museum called the Vine Estate in Hampshire.
Ah, I'm guessing that's where the vine ring came from.
Yeah, well, yes. Yes. Although that makes very little sense.
Right.
But nobody asked me.
They should.
All right.
I thought we established that.
They really should. They should just check in at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the ring itself is a Roman ring dating from around the 4th century and is comparably large as far as rings go, with a full inch in diameter and weighing in at about 12 grams.
Wow.
And some sources suggested that it might be that size because it was made to fit over gloves. Which
okay. That makes
some sense.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that would be a really big hand.
Right?
Otherwise. But, I mean, who am I to judge? Maybe there's a Roman dude with a massive ass hand.
Yes.
Who knows? Yeah. So the band on this ring has 10 facets plus a square bezel, and the bezel has the face of the goddess Venus and the letters VE and NVS engraved upon it. So Venus. And the letters are in mirror writing, which points to that bezel being a signet ring and being used to stamp wax to make a seal, because then the mirrored letters would be facing the right direction.
Ah.
And it's sort of a weird ring because the depiction of Venus looks sort of like an animal. It's not really recognizable as Venus in the way that I have ever seen Venus depicted, but it's labeled. So Okay.
Interesting.
That's fine.
So now I'm just picturing a giant...
It sort of looks like a dog face.
Oh. Maybe it was. Maybe
Like
it's like a family
Venus
pet
as a
named
werewolf.
Venus. Oh. I like a werewolf twist on this.
Yeah, it's sort of odd. It's the first thing that shows up in literally every article is a close-up of this, so there will be plenty of links to this very weird ring. All right, so the band itself also has an inscription which says Seniciana vivus in de, which should have been vivus in deo, but there was an added I and no room for the O, or perhaps the bezel was attached later to than when the ring was first made and was put over the O. It's a little confusing, but it does seem that there are 2 errors in the inscription, which is kind of impressive for a ring.
Right.
But, once again, nobody asked me. Although, I will say that because the band read Seniciana instead of Senicianus, I went down a deep dive into Latin noun declensions in different cases.
This is
because
why I love you.
I wanted to know if they screwed it up. And I don't think so. I think it must be in the vocative. So it would, I guess, it translates to live in God.
Yeah, okay.
So Sicianus, live in God, which was kind of a normal early British Christian saying.
Yeah.
And so this ring is interesting because it's sort of straddling the Roman British Christian sort of multiple deities, one God line.
Venus.
Yeah, I mean, it's
wow.
It's very, very odd.
It
But I think that the way that the name is declined, that it must be a command. And so I like to think that God is telling this person to live in God. So.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong. I did not take Latin, but I can read a chart. So.
There you go.
I read a chart and learned about 2 new cases that I did not know existed. So, there we go. Yeah, Latin. Lots of cases, as it turns out. 2 more than in German.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Indeed. All right, so like I said, the inscription contains 2 errors, and the inscription itself on the band is generally connected to early British Christians. And so it's, like I said, a very, very interesting piece, time-wise. All right, so now that we have met the ring,
yes,
let's move over to Site 2, which contains the tablet, and that is in Lindy, Gloucestershire. This is a separate archaeological site and is an Iron Age fort and also temple complex. So, meanwhile, in Gloucestershire, there was a curse a-brewing, or at least an archaeological find that described a curse. Okay, so here's the backstory. Basically, a ring, possibly the ring we've been talking about, supposedly originally belonged to a guy named Silvianus. The ring went missing, and Silvianus complained to the deity Nodens, which is a Celtic deity with connections to healing, the sea, and hunting, like you do. Mm-hmm. Apparently there were sea monsters and shit depicted in the temple. So that's fun. Yeah. Or at least something. I don't know. And so this is sort of a not particularly well-known Celtic deity, but nonetheless, there was a temple complex at what is now Lindy Park that was dedicated to this deity. And so Silvianus, who seemed to be quite sure that another dude named Senicianus was his ring's thief, wrote a defixio, which we have discussed before. They are those curse tablets that are commonly made out of lead, so you can write on them. And this defixio was written to invoke this god to, well, curse Senicianus, or I guess weirdly all people named Senicianus.
Dang.
Yeah, right? Until the ring was returned to this temple. And so, poor Senicianus's, man.
Right? This guy was covering all the bases. He's like, all of them. Just every single damn one of them. Till I can't. He
must have been really pissed.
Right?
Because I feel like you could just be specific. Right. I don't know. So, in translation from the original Latin, the tablet that was found reads as follows. For the god Nodens, Silvianus has lost a ring and has donated 1/2 of its worth to Nodens. Among those named Senicianus, permit no good health until it is returned to the temple of Nodens.
Damn.
Right? So, there's also a cute story that I saw in a couple of places about a Roman soldier who visited the baths at the temple where his ring was stolen. And it's a nice story. But it only seems to appear in non-scholarly works. So I feel like it was maybe someone taking a little bit of creative license with the context clues. Gotcha. So, yeah, I don't really...
So there's no smiting involved in that one?
Oh, well, yes. It ends in the same way.
Oh, okay. And I just picture Regina George writing in the burn book.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's from Mean Girls.
Oh, wait, no, I do know what you're talking about. Never mind. I just wasn't thinking
Dear
about...
Noden. Yes. He took my ring.
Basically, that is what's happening here. Yeah. So either way, it ends with a defixio, which is not a way you want to end your day.
No. Especially when you're like lashing out at everybody with that name. Like, right. Keep it specific.
I know.
That's bad juju. That's bad juju.
It's not a good idea.
Right.
All right. So back to the ring.
Yes.
Which had been rediscovered in the Shute family's collection at the Vine in the 1880s after it had seemingly been in hiding in the back of a drawer somewhere for the 100 years following its original discovery. It's unclear how it got into the collection of the Shute family. That was not where it was originally brought. So I don't know if there was something sketchy going on, but it seems like something sketchy maybe was going on.
Right. It definitely does. Because that's
Although I
It's
will
not
say that this estate that was the family's estate is only like 5 miles away from where this ring was found, so I don't know. The ring's reemergence happened to coincide rather nicely with the discovery of the aforementioned curse tablet by Sir Mortimer Wheeler in 1929. Which was very exciting for the handful of people who were really geeked about this sort of thing in the area. So, due to the inscription on and the dating of the ring, Senicianus, live in God, many have drawn a connection between the ring of Senicianus and this tablet. Ooh, cat butt.
Yep. Sorry.
Cat butt on the video. Alright, so many have drawn a connection between the ring of Senicianus and this tablet, despite the 80 miles-ish distance between these two archaeological sites.
Huh.
And also despite the fact that the ring in question has an inscription to Senicianus and not to Silvianus, which might be expected if the ring belonged to Silvianus.
Right.
But I guess the band could have been blank when it was originally stolen, and then the thief had it engraved.
That's pretty ballsy.
I don't know. Yeah. But adding to the strength of the argument to connect the two is the seemingly existing fact that Senicianus was not thought to be a very popular name, and it did not exist in Roman writing with frequency at the time. But maybe Senicianuses were thick on the ground, but none were doing anything to write home about. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of the weird thing about written history and recorded history versus what was actually happening.
Right.
It's just possible that there were no well-known, famous, or wealthy Senicianuses. Who knows?
Right. Well, and there's also the human error involved in that, ancient game of telephone.
Oh, exactly. And so it has also been suggested that the inscription on the ring was perhaps supposed to protect its wearer from the curse that was set upon him for stealing it.
Ah.
Which does make some sense, especially if you're straddling the time of Roman deities and Christianity in the area. Because the actual inscription was a very common one. The live in God. That was common at the time for people to have inscribed on jewelry and things that were theirs. So, I don't know. It's unclear. I'm not really sure how much stock I put in that connection, but it is interesting. And yeah. I'm sure that is what the person who had found it, well, quite a number of years ago in the Shute family's collection, they were probably thinking that when they heard the name Senicianus on something else.
Right.
Because you would remember that name.
Yep. That would stick with you.
Yep. And so here's where we're going to bring Tolkien into the mix.
Yay!
Yeah. So at the time of the curse tablets finding, Tolkien was a professor of Anglo-Saxon at Oxford University. And Wheeler, the archaeologist who unearthed the tablet, asked for Tolkien's expertise regarding the god Nodens. And it's thought that Tolkien's visits to the archaeological site and his work on the etymology of the name Nodens may have played a role in inspiring the fictional One Ring at the center of The Lord of the Rings. In this scenario, it is also assumed that during his work with Wheeler, the existence of the ring in combination with the tablet would have come up. And I should say that there is no actual proof that Tolkien knew about the Ring of Senicianus. But the Tolkien Society, at least, has gotten behind this whole idea and has tagged the ring as a material source of inspiration for Tolkien's writings, as opposed to a fictional source or a legendary ring.
Nice.
And so I can see how that absolutely, totally could have happened.
Definitely.
Like, all of those things in connection. It wouldn't be strange if you yourself, as an archaeologist, knew about this ring to tell the whole crazy story
Right.
to Tolkien while you were working together to sort out information on this god.
Right.
I mean,
that would absolutely be.
would certainly
right.
tell that whole story.
Oh, for sure.
But we don't know. We really don't know if it was told, and there aren't any primary sources that can say whether or not it was. And so, just for context, this was going on in 1929 that Wheeler asked for Tolkien's help. The Hobbit was published in 1937, and The Lord of the Rings was published in 1954. So, it's possible that this ring and this tablet could have been the inspiration for the very doomed ring of, is it Mordor or Mordor?
O-R.
O-R, Mordor. No, it's not going to come out correctly.
That's fine.
Anyway, you guys all know I have
Okay.
not read Lord of the Rings since my sophomore year in high school.
Yeah, it's been pretty long for me.
Yeah, that was a long group of books.
Oh, yeah. They're not the light, quick reading.
No, that's what I read in English class when I finished all of the work and needed to be kept busy.
Nice.
Anyway, my academic prowess aside, it's likely that, if nothing else, the Iron Age Roman fort and the archaeological site itself did inspire some of Tolkien's works, because there are absolutely real-world inspirations for, like, the towers and things like that were just around in his daily life. So it wouldn't, that we know were inspirations. So it wouldn't be out of the question.
No, it definitely tracks that it would be something that stuck with him and he used as inspiration.
Yeah. And so even if the ring that we've been talking about is neither connected to this cursed tablet nor known by Tolkien, it's still very likely that this archaeological site did play a role, and sort of by extension, this story of the missing ring. So Tolkien would have known there was a ring.
Yeah.
It's just unclear if he knew about the ring that we've been talking about.
Well, and the fact that it's a cursed ring makes it make even more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's the oddity of the ring itself, yeah, but then you tie in the curse, and it definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure if this is still the case, although it seems to be on the British National Heritage listings. It seems that the vine is still the place where the ring lives, and that there is a ring room that is dedicated to the connection between Tolkien and the ring, and there's a copy of some variety, I think maybe a plaster cast of the
tablet.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm losing the words. So, of that tablet, although I'm not sure where the actual original tablet lives. And so the people who are really excited about Tolkien, the Tolkien Society, have bought into this story. And I like it as a story. I think it's really fun.
I do too. Yeah.
And there's an entire national trust, not national heritage. There's an entire national trust list of the sites that you can visit that are connected to Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very neat how many places can actually be pointed out that were clearly inspirational, and how many things could have just been really solid coincidences. So
that's a tour I take.
What's that?
I said that's a tour I take.
Oh yeah, it looks really cool. And I guess there's some sort of Hobbit themed or Middle Earth themed play area at this estate.
Nice.
Yeah, I would totally be into that. I'm Hobbit sized. Let's do this.
And I eat like a Hobbit, so we're good.
Yes, second breakfast. I am so into second breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah. And 11sies. Yes. Matter of fact, I really do eat all of those meals.
They're broken up throughout the day. We're grazers.
Yeah.
Just kind of munch here and there.
Indeed. Anyway, so that is the story of the Ring of, any number of things. Senicianus is the one that I'm going with because it's labeled.
Yes, it's labeled.
But, you can go ahead and run with whatever you want to run with. And so, that might be the ring that is the one ring. And if it is definitely a cursed historical gold ring.
Nice.
With an inscription.
And a Venus dog.
Yes. I really want to know if that bezel was added later.
Right.
It's such
you would think they'd be able to tell. You would think that would be pretty easy.
It's from the 4th century, so I don't know that something that far back you would be able to tell if something was added 20 years later.
That is true.
I don't know. Perhaps. I'm sure that there are experts who know significantly more than I do, but the National Trust information on this particular artifact isn't exactly clear about whether or not the ring has been altered. And
Gotcha.
Who knows? I mean, but since it's Venus, you would think that would not have been added after the Christian saying.
Right. You would think it would have come before it.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
If anything.
I mean, I think the engraver just fucked up and ran out of room. That's what I think. But
that's happened a million times when I'm, drawing on something, or you start drawing. When you remember a kid and you're drawing the bubble letters, and you're like, oh shit, I'm out of room. And then they turn super skinny at the end. So we're like, I ran out of room.
Yep. That is exactly.
On a whole nother line.
That is exactly what I'm picturing. Or with a caret and squeezed in above.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, apparently it's less forgiving when it's in gold. Although that is nonsense because gold is pretty malleable.
It is.
But whatever, maybe Senicianus was in a hurry.
Or drunk, right?
I mean, if he just stole that ring and was like, shit, there's a curse. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, so there is no word on whether or not Silvianus got his ring back or if Senicianus remained cursed. Unclear.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So I got the book Cursed Objects, Strange but True Stories, The World's Most Infamous Items.
Ooh, written by I have that book too.
By J.W. Walker. And whilst perusing through it, I decided that today I am talking about the Prague Orloj, or the Prague Astronomical Clock.
I love that clock. I have seen that clock.
Which also means that I will be genuinely attempting, but probably incredibly failing to pronounce several Czech names.
Let's do this.
I listened. I'm telling you, I listened to each and every one multiple times. And I had, just know I tried. I even took Russian in college. Like, I should know this, but, just, if you're Czech, know that I adore you and I'm not trying to insult you. So, first installed in 1410, it is the oldest surviving medieval clock that still works, and the world's third oldest astronomical clock, and the oldest still in operation today. It is mounted
Which is cool.
It's very cool. So it's mounted on the southern wall of Old Town Hall in Old Town Square. It tracks the zodiac, the calendar, the position of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Oh, and time. Not just time. Babylonian time, Old Bohemian time, German time, and sidereal time. Sidereal time.
Well,
and
that's overkill.
Right? It is.
Yeah, it's also very near a vegan restaurant.
Nice. Yes, Hobbits got to know that. It's a beautifully ornate astronomical dial on it that represents the positions of the sun and the moon in the sky and various other astronomical details on that dial. The main stationary background to the clock's face has a wealth of information than anybody that can actually read it. On the outermost ring of the background is a series of glyphs that are representative of ancient Czech time. Moving closer to the center is a set of Roman numerals, which can be seen, and like most traditional clocks, it's used to indicate 24-hour time. Within the main plate are various hues of blue and red that indicate events like sunrise, daybreak, daytime, nighttime, as well as indicating various geographical information like the location of the tropics and the equator. The Earth, or the position of the observer, is located in the very center of the dial. Superimposed on the main astrolabe is the Zodiacal Ring. Mechanical astrolabes they're commonly used in medieval timekeeping and astronomical studies. It displays the various signs of the zodiac and is intended to mark the location of the sun on the ecliptic. The zodiac signs are shown anti-clockwise in order. And that's all very well and good, but it's not all. The next most impressive part is a set of seemingly stationary statues dedicated to the 4 evils or vices next to the clock, and then 4 virtues next to the lower calendar dial. The so-called evils include figures of icons like death. Cool, right? Mm-hmm. But there's more.
Oh!
Every hour between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. when this bad boy tolls, the magic truly begins.
Mm.
It sets free a parade of 12 wooden apostle statues, each one holding the implement of its martyrdom. So the beheaded Saint Matthias has an axe, the bisected Saint Simon's got a saw, and my personal favorite, the skinned Saint Bartholomew is rocking a knife and a pelt. Just to name a few.
Well,
they aren't the only animated parts of the Orloj either that come to life. Those figures of vice and virtue, yeah, they nod their heads, and there's like a freaking golden rooster that belts out a crow. Mm-hmm. There's angels, there's a vain man, a philosopher, a miser, an astronomer. But the oldest figure on the clock is a skeleton, which dates to the late 15th century and is sometimes called the Rattler, the Clicker, or Kostlivek in Czech. It represents death and nods sagely while ringing a bell in one hand and turning an hourglass in the other.
Well, that's a threat.
Right. Just a little uplifting skeleton.
A direct threat.
Yep.
Yeah.
The current date is tracked around the circumference of the dial, which also indicates annual events like Saint Feast Day. So it sounds pretty cussing amazing, right? And it totally is.
It is very cool.
It also has a very dark history that has led to rumors of a curse.
Uh-oh.
So picture it. 15th century Prague. It's said that the clock was created by a great clockmaker, Mikuláš from Kadaň. Reputation totally known far and wide. And it's rumored that Mikuláš was approached by many a foreign nation, all wishing to have their own marvelous astronomical clocks. Now, he refused.
Can you imagine how long that would have taken?
Now, he refused to show his plans to anyone, but the Prague councillors caught word of him being wooed, and fearful that Mikuláš might build another bigger, better, maybe more gorgeous clock, the councillors decided to, react perfectly normally by having the brilliant clockmaker blinded to ensure that their clock would forever be the best.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Totally reasonable. Super pissed and eventually driven mad, Mikuláš was like, fuck this noise, and took the ultimate revenge by literally yeeting himself into his extraordinary work of art, thereby ending his own life and mucking up the clock's gears. Extra bonus, it would also curse the clock so that all that would try to fix it would either go insane or die.
Ooh, a blood curse.
And now you know why I chose to deep dive this clock. Sadly, though, it seems that this particular legend isn't accurate.
Oh,
so,
well.
For starters, the legend has the blinded, initially, the original legend has the blinded clockmaster, Jan Ruja, also referred to as Hanush some places, and no one was able to repair it for the next 100 years after the yeeting into the gears. But then it was discovered that Hanush didn't even work on the clock. But then some people said, oh, but he did work on the clock, but he just repaired it a little bit. So it's really
he only did it a little.
Right. So it turns out that Mikuláš didn't work solo on it either. That he had actually helped working on the clock from a
Well, look at it. Who could work on that by themselves?
Seriously, it is huge and amazing. So he had help from...
I mean, how could you adjust anything on your own?
How is it even calibrated? Like, there's so much more that I want to know about this clock that's just not available in the deep dives that I have gone. But
this is where invisibility would be really great. So I could just, shimmy on.
There you go. Just toot, toot, toot.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me see the inside of your clock.
Yes. So a Charles University professor of mathematics and astronomy, Jan Schindel, was said to help Miklos work on it. Part of the thing is that the clock itself has been created in stages, like with various creepy bits being added throughout the years, which then makes more sense.
Like you do.
Right. They just keep adding on to this freaking thing.
Well, of course they do. That's what you do when you have a giant clock. You add creepy shit to it until there's no more room.
Totally. And here's the thing that I am in awe of the fact that it keeps track, this one thing keeps very accurate track of so very many things, and yet the precise and accurate documentation of who did what and when is so shitty.
Or maybe it's just not public.
Possibly. Speaking of creepy, the cobblestones on the Old Town Square below the clock are marked with 27 crosses commemorating 27 beheaded Czech noblemen. Like you do. Like, I did not...
I mean, I guess they would have probably beheaded them in the Old Town Square.
Right. So
there is a torture implement museum right around there, too.
Ooh, fun. Mm-hmm. For added bonus. So, the Orloj has suffered from several breakdowns and malfunctions throughout the course of history. The most notable of these, though, were in 1787 and 1861, when the clock was almost sold as to scrap because there was no money to repair it. And then during the Prague Uprising on May 8th, 1945, when the Germans fired toward the southwest facade of the Old Town Square, City Hall suffered serious fire damage, including the burning of the wooden sculptures and the calendar dial face of the clock. The clock stood motionless for 3 years until in 1948, Wojciech Sukarda repaired the machine and restored the wooden apostles. This fed into another curse that had long been stated, that if the clock was ever damaged, Prague would fall into bad luck. But I'm just saying, obviously, if some Nazis are shooting up your clock, you're gonna have some shit go down after that. It's not necessarily...
I feel like you're already having bad luck at that point.
Right, it's the clock was just collateral damage at that point.
Also, don't shoot at valuable shit.
Seriously.
I mean, this is like the goddamn Amber Room.
Right, right.
Anyway, no, we should definitely not go there right now.
Right?
And the mysteries behind it. But, yeah, that has never made sense. I don't know. Destruction of important cultural heritage sites in war never makes any sense. I mean, you're going to want that.
Well, and there's
even if you win.
Right. Well, on the flip side, there is, so there, in one of the bits of research that I was going down, there is documentation that allegedly Hitler himself actually stayed in the city hall when they took Prague, because of the clock. But I'm like, then you need to tell your people
not
that.
Surprised.
Right. That, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but I'm like, maybe tell your people to not fuck up the clock then.
I mean, Hitler was super into many of the belief systems that may have been represented within the clock.
So today, after a 2018 renovation that took about 9 months, the Orloj has been restored completely to its original state. The colors have been reverted to their authentic shades. They replaced all of the metal gears with wooden ones. And it now looms even more creepily and medievally over town square, while now sporting its modern anti-bird netting and ledge spikes. Because you can't be too careful when you're dealing with a giant cursed clock.
I guess they don't want people to...
Okay, you tell them, Katie.
I have a parade of cats.
I'm
coming.
guessing it's... Yeah, I just looked at the time. I'm like, it's got to be close to dinner time for them. So, yeah, I'm guessing they don't want people climbing up there to do stupid shit like take a photo with it or even try to take parts of it off.
Oh, I was thinking suicide.
That, too. That absolutely, that would be... Yeah, that would definitely be an
One
option,
would
so.
prefer not to have that be the case.
Yeah. Yes. Clock should not unalive people. So that's my...
It's beautiful. I hadn't actually looked at it since it had been updated. The last time I saw it was, I don't know, mid to... Jesus.
They're very upset there's no cat. Why is there a bird and no cat?
Oh my God. Anyway, I haven't seen it since it's been restored, and it's beautiful.
It really is, and I'll stick some photos in the folder for use. But yeah, so that's, I was super excited. I was a little disappointed that, the legend seems to not be true, because, in all honesty, if I was that guy and you blinded me and I was just about done with you, that's exactly what I would do. Like, it makes sense.
I don't disagree. I could see that being the case. That is a really, really enthusiastic fuck you.
Right? Exactly. That's...
Oh my gosh, my cats are all howling. And Jack keeps flipping over on the floor so he can bat at Biggie from below.
Nice. So yeah, that's
wow. That's
my little story about that. Not incredibly as long as anticipated, because there's so much contradictory information about, one specifically was changed by who. It started sounding like that part of the Bible where so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so, when you started getting into things, and that's just not my realm. So that's the whole...
and that stuff is sort of weird when you're talking about, like, historic kingdoms and countries that are no longer connected, and like all sorts of upheaval going on. I mean, Prague has existed for quite some time,
right?
But oh my goodness, howl cat. But oh yeah, we should at some point, speaking of cursed shit in Prague, we should talk about the bridge.
Yes.
Because that's cursed shit in Prague.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh, I haven't... Well, I guess I thought about Prague last time you talked about. Must have been Wenceslas.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. But, yeah, that... Oh, I love that clock. I love that clock so much.
It is amazing, and it's just, again, so very fucking fascinating on so many different levels, and just the fact that it's covering astrology and the zodiac, but then you've got these apostles coming out, and you've got, and again, there's just a delicious little weirdness in them holding the implements of their martyrdom like that.
I mean, the whole thing is really sinister.
It really is.
And watching it actually go is really creepy.
I can imagine. It was I want to say an article on Atlas Obscura was talking about how you need to get there. Like, don't necessarily assume you're going to be able to see it at the time that you want to see it at, because people still just pack it to watch that, which I can completely understand.
I am very short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but
I'm gonna see if I can find a video of it. I'm sure there's a video out there. I will try to find a video of it of what occurs when the clock has struck. I don't know why I didn't look that up before.
Well, I mean,
I failed in my
positive there's a video.
Right. I failed in my research, but I will find that video and stick it in there.
I don't think you failed. I think there's a lot of shit going on with that creepy old clock.
There's so much, and just looking at the stuff, just looking at each individual little thing is like, and when they were restoring it, there was one of the wooden apostles had a metal case inside of it. Like they figured out it was heavier than the rest of them, and so they x-rayed it, and there was a metal case inside with a note from somebody else that had worked on it. And apparently that note was like, this place sucks, there's shitty working conditions.
That is not what you expect in your apostle's secret chamber.
And then there was, they found additional, oh my gosh, kind of gargoyle-y things behind one of the clock faces that were clearly there before the clock faces had been added, that they didn't know was there until they started doing this big renovation.
Cool.
Which, those things I love. I love that. I love a hidden anything. Hidden room, hidden compartment.
And I mean, look at that building. It's old as hell.
Seriously. I mean, 1400. Just the fact that it's the oldest, the only medieval clock of its kind still standing and functioning like that is, I mean, 1400, that's a long ass time ago. That really is.
Yeah.
Well, things that
all
clock
of Old
seen.
Town is really weird and old. In a great way.
Right.
In a way that simply does not exist in the U.S.
Yes. So, yeah. We're adding it to our field trip list.
Yeah.
Bones and Bobbins goes to Prague.
As long as when we go, the spiders aren't there. Yeah. I've told you about the spiders in Prague, right?
I will protect you from spiders. I don't have a spider issue.
They were everywhere.
Yeah.
You could not protect me from this quantity of spiders.
Oh, no.
They were just on every surface. Apparently this isn't actually a thing. It's not a known event. It just happened to be like a perfect storm of hatching and weather conditions and stuff when I went.
Wow.
Fucking everywhere. On every surface, just reaching back at you. You're like, hi.
What's up? Do you want to give me 8?
Spider. And I'm like, yeah, you're fucking massive. Back off. And it's like, can I come home with you? No. No, I'm busy. Ugh. Fucking spiders. Anyway, sorry.
Don't be sorry. I think that actually brings us to the weekly worst way to die.
La la la, la la la. All right, so what is your weekly worst way to die?
So as much as I wholeheartedly respect his commitment to fuck you, I'm gonna go with like giant clock gears because that would be a slow and painful death. And you would almost have to go head first, because if you went feet first and you gummed up the gears before it got to your head, you would be stuck in there. I may have thought of this for like way too long.
I mean, this happened during the Industrial Revolution with machines all the time before they were guards.
People just So I'm gonna go with giant creepy clock gears.
Ew.
Not being my preferred.
Well, mine will make sense only to people who are going to listen to our Patreon episode.
Yes.
Or people who are also into watching terrible ghost-related reality TV, which I am unashamedly very much into. So my worst way to die this week is being Aaron in literally any episode of Ghost Adventures.
Poor Aaron.
Yep. That is.
Yep. That's a good one. That's very valid. Very valid.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So, hey.
Oh God, don't include that.
Oh, my cheeks hurt now. Oh. Do you want to be spooky internet friends?
And who wouldn't after that?
Seriously. We're on Bones and Bobbins. Yeah,
we are. It's true.
We're Bones and Bobbins on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can even find us on the Pinterest. And you can just hunt us down at bonesandbobbins.com.
And don't forget to rate and review this podcast. It
maybe lie a little bit.
Oh my gosh. It pleases the internet gremlins, and that's how we show up in recommendations so that other morbid souls or people who have clearly lost their damn minds can find us.
Bring forth the morbid souls.
And the howling cats.
Yes.
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
giggles.
So much.
Each episode of the Bones and Bobbins podcast is written and researched by Haley Pierson-Cox and Natalie Hoyce. Our music was composed by Loyalty Freak Music. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bones and Bobbins. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, or check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you won't miss a minute of our strange and creepy content.